What's up, everybody? This is Greg with Advantage One Brokers, and this is the ADV One Podcast. This is a podcast we come to you each and every weekday with relevant topics and trainings, and we bring on guest speakers to hear them talk about things that are important to them in the business. Today, I have a very special guest speaker. For the first time ever, I have Mr. Wes Shepard, Wesley the Shepherd, and Instagram. How you doing, Wes?
Man, I'm doing better than I deserve most of the time, Greg. Thanks for asking.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Wes was just to kind of open it up a little bit. Wes has been with Advantage World Brokers for quite some time. He was, pre massive migration, pre tsunami migration, and I got to be introduced to Wes when we had so many people that were coming on board and that needed help with onboarding and contracting and lead support and contracts and ordering leads and training, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Wes was one of those managers that just said, hey, I will lend my time. I'll lend my expertise and my experience to help with this migration. Didn't ask for anything in return. Wasn't trying to get agents in his team. Just wanted to help the overall Advantage One Brokers as a core succeed. So thank you so much for everything that you did. And so I got to meet him through that. But then we met in person in Sacramento, and then we got to spend some time together here at the Managers Retreat back in Vegas, a week ago. So Wes, tell me, man, I know coming out of the conference, you and I talked a little bit, and you were saying, you had some ideas based on all the talks that were at the conference. And you had some really good ideas about what you wanted to record on. So I'm going to let you kind of jump in and talk about, what your topic is today, is about the power of personal growth. And we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. But I just want to talk a little bit. Some of this will be laced with kind of my story in there a little bit. But when I think back over time, as I'm trying to put myself into the spot of somebody joining a new team or a new company, whether I'm a brand new agent or I'm a veteran agent looking to join a new team, I think about how important it is to put yourself back in the mindset of what you went through during that time period, and how did you get to the next level, or how do you get to the next level from where you're at currently. I always think about, we live in this world of comfort, and we work hard to have more comfortable lifestyles, houses, boats, relationships, commutes to work, etc. And we strive to make things easier and more effective, and we incorporate technology in their everyday life, and we try to simplify everything. But when we do that, we make things into a predictable, consistent pattern where we make the world, we try to make the world exist as a function, as autopilot, basically. And we're present, but are we really here? This is a form of life, but is it really living? So in that, I think about how do you achieve those kind of things if you want to have a more simple lifestyle. It really comes down, you have to change yourselves to live, and to not just be a full life, but also actually truly live. As we were talking about earlier, Matthew McConaughey in Greenlights talked about actually living. But inside of all of that, you have to be ready to change. You have to be ready to do things a different way, and not just do things the way you've always done them.
All right. That is, for those of you listening, if you have not read the book Greenlights, it really is. It's a phenomenal book. But if you Absolutely. Read it, you also got to get it on Audible, because it's actually read by Matthew McConaughey. And the way that he reads it is mesmerizing. It is perfect. Like, he's actually really good at imitating other people's voices, and he spent a period of time living abroad in Australia when right after he graduated high school, and the way that he imitates the people in Australia is actually really good. Like, it sounds just like it. And he does a really good job imitating people throughout. But that's a powerful book. And I like that you use that as a lead in for this conversation, because he really does. He talks about, and in the beginning of the book, he talks about what is a green light, and green light in life is like go. That's when you're having success. That's when you are having pleasure, joy. That's more money, more fame, whatever it is that you're looking for. That's just like green light, green light, green light, green light, not yellow light, not a red light, but green light. And and yellow lights, and how in life everyone runs into yellow lights and red lights that kind of slow or stop our success or momentum. But a lot of times yellow and green lights can change into, in secret, be a green light for you. And that all yellow and red lights in life eventually change to a green light,
Absolutely.
no matter what. And so if you haven't read that book, then that's as far as I'm going to go into the assessment of it. It really is a phenomenal book. You got to go watch, you got to go read it and listen to it on Audible. It's definitely, I think it's only like maybe a 10-hour.
Yeah, it's not very long.
It's not a real long book, but on Audible, I want to say it's like maybe 10 hours. So a nice drive, a nice lengthy drive. So well, I like that topic. And do you feel that, how do you feel that level of personal growth is pertinent in our line of business?
Greg, I think it's the most important thing that we do. I think it's more important than focusing on our business, because at the end of the day, T.R. Becker has a quote, and he says TFAR. So thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. And the only way that we can change our results on this side of the page is if we go back and start at the beginning and change our thoughts. But how do we change our thoughts? We change our thoughts by personal growth, as whether it's the people that we hang around with, the people that we talk to, hang out with, and the books that we read. So if we're doing those two things and you focus on those two things, you can change your results, because now you're changing your thoughts, which change your feelings will change your actions will change your results.
How often do you watch the news?
The most news I get is through scrolling through social media.
So you don't I never watch the news.
No, never.
Never. You know why? Because it's mostly garbage.
It makes me feel gross, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, one, if you don't realize that the news is crafted in order to get likes, to get views, and is dramatized. Also, it's controlled by different political parties. Then, there's something wrong with you that you don't understand that. But two, the more garbage you put in, you're actually right. The more garbage in, garbage out. So if you're putting in garbage into your mind, if you're watching garbage TV all the time, if you're, have you ever watched a show that just when you afterwards or movie afterwards that you just felt like emotionally drained? Like, oh man,
absolutely,
I felt terrible because you just watched something that was just god awful on the TV. And it's that same concept. And you're absolutely right. Our minds are like a garden that needs to be tended. And if you don't tend the garden, weeds will grow. And if you don't pull the weeds, the weeds will overrun. And then the garden is dirty, disgusting. No one wants to look at it. No one wants to go through it. And the more disgusting it gets, the harder it is to go in and do the work to pull the weeds. Have you ever read the book As a Man Thinketh?
I have not, actually.
It is another fantastic book. It's very short read. It's very old book, very short read. But it's all about controlling your thoughts. Exactly what you're saying right now is that as a man thinketh, he is. So the more you let your thoughts go to thoughts of negative feelings, of anger, of resentment, of jealousy, of hate, of impure thoughts, the more you do that, what happens is that everything else follows, and it becomes, it's like those deep roots start to get into your mind and spread, and it spreads to every part of your life. And then the more that you think of positive thoughts, things that will promote your life, things that are green lights in your life, things that are healthy for you, things that challenge you to be better, those things will start to take root. And you'll find that the weeds that were in your mind will start to disappear. And you'll find that your actions are more in line with those healthy thoughts. And when your actions are aligned with that, your results are unparalleled. This isn't even like a addition subtraction problem. This is a multiplication division problem. This is, with those healthy thoughts and healthy actions, your results are multiplied henceforth from what they would be if you were negative. So no, I actually agree.
Absolutely.
So, so give me an example. I like to tell stories. I feel that people that listen to these can relate, because we've probably been where they are or have been as well. And when they see that we've had experiences that put us in a position where we had to, realize that we had the power to choose to have better thoughts and choose for personal growth in order to get past something. It kind of lays that blueprint for them and shows them that, hey, anyone can do this. So do you have any stories that you'd like to share where you had to go through this kind of transformational change?
Absolutely. I think it's happened to me probably 2 big times since I've been in the industry. This is going on my 8th year now in the industry. And my first year, I've got a trophy that sits to myself whenever I'm at my home office. You guys can kind of see that background, but there's a trophy it's the smallest trophy I've got, but it's the one that means the most to me, because my first year, guys, I was terrible. I was so bad. Like, I came out like I was strong. Like, I listened to Jeff's podcast the other day. You and Jeff were talking about how he kind of was young and cocky and came into the industry, and I was exactly the same way. I was a restaurant manager. I'd taken a store that was the worst one in the company and brought it up into the top consecutively top three in the district and company. And so I knew I was good at what I did there, and I thought that translated to what we do here. And so in that first year, like the first month or two, like I did well. But then I stopped doing the things that got me that short-term success, and I started just saying, "Okay, I've got this. I'm good enough to do it all." And I struggled for about 9 months. And my mentor at the time kept telling me that, "Hey, man, just make it to month 10. Like, you're going to start getting your residuals coming in. Like, you'll be okay. Make it to month 10." And so I kind of took it as a challenge, it's almost a prove 'em wrong. Like, hey, I'm gonna go toe to toe with this. I'm gonna do what you tell me to do. I was doing the effort. I was doing $300-400 a week. I was running appointments. I just wasn't able to connect it some reason early on in the home. But I believed in him telling me that if I just made it to month 10, it'd be okay. So making it to that period where I ended up making 42% of my income for that year in the last 3 months of the year. But the trophy that he gave me at the end of that year was called the Just Keep Swimming Award. Just like Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, because it signified to me and to him that I stuck with it long enough to get good at it. But had I not stuck with it during that time period, I don't know where I'd be at this point. I'd probably be back in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I think it's easy for agents to, especially when you're new, to look at agents that are successful, to look at you, to look at, like you just mentioned, Jeff Fonkinas, to look at people like David Doring, David Fisher, Genevieve Okoro, people that are successful and have made it to a level of success, good in the field, agency manager, etc., and see that and think like, man, they don't understand the things that I'm going through, or they haven't been through it, or not realize, maybe not even think that, but just not make the connection that we've also been to the same stuff. And we had a difficult road ahead of us too. So most of the things, there's not a lot of different challenges. There's not a multitude of challenges that you're going to face when it comes to, being an insurance agent in the industry. It's a handful of challenges that pretty much all of us face all of them at some given time. Like it doesn't get like it's almost unending in terms of there's nothing new there that we face. And so when I first started in the industry, I was also terrible. But I saw people making money, and I saw people that were like really, really successable. And I was always of the opinion, I was like, if somebody else can do it, then I can do it too. Absolutely. If that person can do it, then I can do it. There's nothing holding me back. It's just like I just haven't figured out the things that they figured out. They've just been in it longer, or they've learned things that I haven't learned, or they're doing tactics or techniques that I'm not aware of yet. And so it's just, there is nothing new in the world. What's old is new again. And it's all these principles of sales are as old as time itself. You know, they've been around for a long time. And if you look at like sales principles, sales books now, they're just they're a regurgitation of sales practices that sales were 200 years ago. It's the same thing. It hasn't changed. It's just a little spin on it and using current technologies. But the overall application remains, or the overall tactic and technique remains the same. It's just the application of it. Now, I stuck with it because I just knew, you know. I think a very unique and different perspective is that I got good just by putting my head down, burning my ships, and getting to work. And so I started to get good, and it was just by volume, and volume cures all things. So I just bought a lot of leads and set a lot of appointments. Like when you do that, you're going to fall into sales. And I think that I found success just by following the sales. And over time, like bumps and bruises and messing up and learning from my mistakes, I got better and better. My ratios got better and better. I think what's even more important or more powerful is when you get to a level where you start to find success and then you get complacent. I think that kills probably more agents than anything else. Is because a lot of people come in and think, oh yeah, I got to work hard to get this, and they're and okay, you can make this much money. It takes this amount of time. That makes sense to me. Like if this isn't a get rich quick scheme, I'm going to have to work for it, but it's possible, and it's all dependent upon me. Then they start doing it, they get good, and then they let their foot off the gas, and they stop doing the things that were making them successful, and they stop looking for ways to take them to the next level. Because what got you here won't get you there.
Absolutely.
And what happens is that there's this learning curve. Okay, so you start off here in the learning curve, and as you go, it's almost like a bell curve. Like you just get really good, then you explode. So people get to like right here in the bell curve, and everything gets easier. Like your sales get easier. You got to work less time on the phones, less appointments to run to make the same amount of money. And then what happens is you stay there. You stay there. Or you get so cocky that you stop training and you start to slide right back down.
We're talking practice.
Yeah. You start going right back down the slope because you haven't hit the explosion yet. And that happened to me. And that happened to me in 2020. And I let a lot of things have an impact on me in my life. I had personal problems. I was personal relationship problems. I wasn't feeding my mind with healthy things, with going to church or reading the Bible or my spiritual side. That it doesn't matter what religion you are. Everyone has some kind of spiritual side, something that you believe in, the hereafter, whether it's God, Buddha, something, doesn't matter, whatever you believe in, like feeding into that, so that there's a part of you that you want to feed that continues those beliefs, those cores. That's you. It's who you are. And I wasn't doing that. And so you look at, like, when I look at personal growth and personal development, I think about it as like a car. Okay. Most people think about personal development as if they were running a car and all they did was put gas in it and just floored it. That's what they want to do. They want to put gas in and floor it. They don't want to change the oil. They don't want to rotate the tires. They don't want to air up the tires and the tires get low. They don't want to do regular scheduled maintenance. They don't want to change out the spark plugs when needed. They don't even want to wash the car. And so how much better does the car run when you do all those things versus just doing gas? What's going to happen is if you just do gas, it's going to run, but how long? It's only going to go for so long before the car dies, blows up. And so
that's those yellow lights that Matthew McConaughey talks about, doing the oil changes.
Exactly. It's that. And so that's what I hit a yellow light last year, a massive yellow light. Instead of letting it stop me and stall me, I stopped, I reflected, I saw what I was happening, and I made changes, and I made massive changes that took place in this year. I made some massive changes in my life. And I took it, and I took accountability. I think that's the biggest thing, is taking accountability in your life and realizing that the problems that you have in your life are your own. They are your own problems, and they are because of your actions. Period. End stop. There is no other way to look at it. If you're not making the sales that you want to make, it's on you. It's because you're not doing the things necessary. It's not because there's not enough leads in your territory. It's not because you're not getting the training necessary. It's not because of anyone else. It's not because of the clients that you're sitting with. It's because of you. Because every single excuse you can come up with, I can come up with an alternate route that you should have taken in order to increase. It's not that you're not going to find challenges. It's that people find challenges and then they just sit there and they let those challenges remain instead of identifying them and finding ways to overcome the challenges to get to the next level. That's on you to identify the challenge, see that you want to go ahead and fix it, and then go to the next one. And so that's the first one. Second is when looking at your life, just like you do the car, okay, you should look at every area of your life. So your personal, your professional, your social, your physical, your mental, your spiritual. And if you're not feeding all those buckets, if you're not trying to make increases in every single part of your life, that's just like, if you're just doing professional and you're not worried about anything else, you're going to burn out. Your car is going to explode. If you're not working out or eating healthy, you're going to get sick. You're going to get ill. You're going to be lethargic. You're not going to be as active or mentally engaging. If you're not feeding your mind by reading daily or trying to learn new concepts, you're not going to grow. You're going to stay. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And so, no, I had a lot of problems in last year, and ultimately those problems were because of me. Ultimately, no matter what other people did, I cannot use that as a blame in order for me to not do anything about it, because ultimately I stayed in that situation for the amount of time that I did, that it had the effect that it did on my personal life, on my business, on my mental state. And when I started this year and I removed negative people from my life and I removed those negative influences and I started focusing on me and helping myself and be a better person, be the person I knew I could be, I took my business to the next level. I did things that I never would have thought possible. I did $200,000 in a month. I wrote $220,000 in 1 month on Zoom, all from home. I'd never before that. The most I wrote is like 60,000. I went from the most 60, jumped up to 220 in 1 month. And
that's some people's whole year, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a whole year. And so, and I started doing podcasts. I started talking on camera like this. If you look at my first podcast, they were terrible. Now I got a dope ass intro. Now I got, we got all this stuff going on, and it's a lot better. It's more engaging content because I know how to talk on camera. I know how to be engaging, but it took for me to just do it. It took for me to say, I want to actually help people. I want to reach out to hundreds, thousands of agents, and I want to help them to be better. How do I do that? Well, I got to start doing podcasts. I got to start making content that's relatable, content that people actually want to watch, content that actually provides value. So, I'm not going to go into details of everything that really happened, but the fact of the matter is that I don't care who you are. I don't care what your personal life situation is. Everybody has the ability to control your thoughts, make a change, and take accountability of what it is that's going on in your life, because it is your fault. You did actions in your life that got you to this point, and it is your fault. Now it's up to you to identify that Because the second you identify that, you now know what the problem is, and you can find a solution. You can move forward. If you keep acting like it's not your problem, it wasn't your fault, you don't identify a problem, therefore you never find a solution. Therefore, you stay in that position for the rest of your life, or until you finally wake up. So that's my version of personal growth and that's the podcast that you were talking about that you watch. It wasn't a podcast, but it was the national sales training call
this past week, right?
Yeah, it's this past week. It's all about accountability. It's taking accountability in your life as an individual agent, as a person, and it works. You do that, I promise. Every aspect of your life, you'll be a better husband. You'll be a better father, better wife, better mother. Better producer, better agency owner, better leader, better example, better community member, whatever it is that you want to be, you'll be better if you take accountability of your actions. So,
absolutely. And I forget who it was that said it, but they said your business is the best crucible for your personal growth, meaning that really whatever you struggle or don't struggle with, or you do well with, don't do well with, those coexist. I used to think that they were separate, and I had my business life here, my personal life here, and I was really good at the business side. And before I left the first company I was with, I was doing very well, but I wasn't working on this side as much. And it was like kind of like a house of cards, and I had all this personal stuff going on, all this baggage and things I wasn't working on there, but I was working on my business is really good. But having to go through that struggle has allowed me to now understand they actually commingle, and they have an effect on each other, because really business is personal, personal is business. You have to currently develop yourself first.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And now that you've seen, you identify that and you started working on yourself and you saw those changes. When's that transformation done to your business when you started working on your personal? How did that change affect everything?
I'll say that it's kind of like the law of invisible results. Like when you go to the gym, you're working out, you're eating healthy, and like you expect, I ate this salad today, I want to be ripped tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So it's the law of invisible results. As you continue working yourself, you're not going to see it right now. You're going to see it 90 days, 100 days, 2 years down the road. You're starting to see, wow, I'm not the person I was once before. But whenever you're making that transformation, is one, I think about you have to want it. Like it's not just going to fall in your lap. You're like, oh, I'll do that. I'll read that stuff when I get there. I'll read that book when I get there. No, because right now, if you don't do the things now, you're not going to have the future you're thinking about later, because you haven't changed your thoughts yet to get you there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is when you change your thoughts to, I think that's why most people don't do things, is because they think they don't have the concept of time. And if you start operating like I'm running out of time and there's not enough time in my life to do the things I want to do, as soon as I think of things that I want to do to improve myself, I'm going to do them now because I may not have the time later. You have that viewpoint, you're going to realize that that you will take more action on things. You will improve yourself quicker, and you realize that you have a lot more time during the day, especially when you start scheduling things.
When you start putting, go ahead.
I was saying people waste their time.
Yes, it's. I love what David shared about his schedule the other day, and it's something I work with my giant coach. That we look kind of like building out your schedule and actually putting it down on paper. Like you think, man, I'm so busy, I can't possibly fit anything else into my schedule. When you actually put it on a schedule and put it on everything you do throughout the weekend, like you have a lot of extra free time that you waste scrolling through TikTok or Twitter or Instagram, whatever, or playing the sticks on an Xbox. You can really waste a lot of time and not realize it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. If you go by a calendar, it's not that you can't do those things. Schedule it.
Right. Schedule. Hey, when I want to, if you love playing games or whatever, schedule that time. Schedule your family time, your friend time, your relationship time. Schedule that stuff first, then schedule your business stuff, and then fill in the gaps for your appointments and everything else.
Absolutely. And so you use a giant coach. Mm-hmm. What's your recommendations when it comes to using a coach?
Well, I think I think everybody needs one. I'm not going to say, hey, go get a coach tomorrow. But I think everybody should think about getting one, or at least having some type of structure, talking with a coach, whether it's your personal mentor right now and plugging into that person on a weekly basis. But you should have somebody who helping you hold yourself accountable. Because I think back to, I was in the height of my weight loss journey, which I'm still not where I want to be at, but in the height of it, when I was losing the most weight, the fastest, I went to one of my friends, and he's a good coach in East Tennessee. And I was like, hey man, I need some help. I know what is possible. I just can't figure out how to get myself there. And he said, that's why we have a job. That's why I'm a coach. So it's great to have somebody else who can have a second set of eyes who aren't so focused in on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They can kind of be looked back and say, hey, have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
Or and then help walk you through the processes or the plans or whatever, because you can have a big, huge dream, Greg, but if you don't have a plan to get to, it's just a wish.
You're absolutely right. And I always like to think about it like this. Anyone that is exceptional in any industry, whether it's business, sports, entertainment, you pretty much pick the industry, it doesn't matter. But insurance, financial services, they have somebody that they pay that helps them to navigate the way and take it to the next level, to coach them. If you're not doing that, if you want to be at the top of your game, if you're not doing that, then the people that are doing that have an edge on you.
It's kind of forced discipline. Like, either you can be disciplined yourself enough to do it, or you can pay somebody else to discipline you and help hold you accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Wes, for coming on board and having this conversation. Any last parting shots or thoughts or recommendations to the agents watching or listening?
I'd say, guys, plug into your mentors, into your system daily. I always tell agents, if you call me 16 times a day, I will do my damnedest to talk to you 16 times a day. If you call me once a month, we'll probably talk, maybe once, twice a month, because the people that are calling me is like Greg is super busy as well. But as if you're listening to this and you say, hey, I want to get to those next levels, be calling your uplines daily. You should have a conversation, especially if you're in your first 90 days. You should be talking to your mentor almost every day of what's going on. How do I get to the next level? And I always ask that question: what's next? How do I get to the next level? What should I be reading? What do you recommend I do? If you're asking those kind of questions and being open to it, and actually doing it, because I think that's the big catch-22 is you got to actually do the work. I think you'll be massively successful if you do those things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Wes, for coming on board and being part of the ADV1 podcast. If anyone had listened to this, watched this, and they say, man, Wes is a dope dude, I'd like to work alongside him or learn from him, how could they reach you, brother?
They can reach me on Instagram, Wesley Shepard, Instagram. They email me at wshepard at adv1brokers.com.
Awesome. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and turn on your notification, because we're coming to you each and every weekday. I am your host, Greg Birch, and I have one small favor for you. If you watch this and you got anything out of it, there's a fee. The fee is very simple. You're going to share this if you got anything out of it. If you learned anything, if you grew, if you took anything away, if you're entertained, then share this with somebody else that can also get something from it, that can grow, that can get entertained, that can personally get to the next level. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.
See you.